go with that for this moment because we're here. The other side.
When we march together, we march strong. It's by bridge and town by town. Like a rolling train, slow down. We'll be brave, we'll be brave. We'll be brave without you. Till the worst comes, we'll be brave without you. Together we can, together we will. Just keep the faith. We get there still. Together we can. We must march again with hope. Adonai, Imloch Leolam Ba'ed. Adonai, Imloch Leolam Ba'ed. Adonai, Imloch Leolam Ba'ed. Adonai, Imloch Leolam Ba'ed. Adonai.
Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah. I'm not sure it could. They say time heals everything. I'm still I'm through when it's down. There's nothing left for me to figure out. I've paid a price and I'll keep paying. I know you said, can't you just get over it? Turned my whole world. I kinda like it.
I sold the farm to take my woman where she longed to be. We left our kin and all our friends back there in Tennessee. I bought those one-way tickets she had often begged me for, and they took us to the streets of Baltimore. Her heart was filled with laughter when she saw those city lights. She said the prettiest place on earth is Baltimore at night. Well, a man feels proud to give his woman what she's longing for, and I kind of like the streets of Baltimore. Then got myself a factory job. I ran an old machine. I bought a little cottage in a neighborhood serene. Yet every night when I came home with every muscle sore, she would drag me through the streets of Baltimore. Well, I did my best to bring her back to what she used to be, but I soon learned she loved those bright lights much more than she loved me. Now I'm a-going back on that same train that brought me here before, while my baby walks the streets of Baltimore. Yes, my baby walks the streets of Baltimore.
Baltimore Oriole took a look at the mercury, 40 below. No life for a lady to be dragging her feathers around in the snow. Leaving her mate, she flew straight to the Tangipahoe, where two-timing jaybird met the divine Miss O. I'd like to ruffle his plumage, Baltimore Oriole. Messed around with that jaybird till he singed her wing. Forgiving is easy, it's a woman like now and then could happen things. Send her back home, home ain't home without her warbling, I know. Make a lonely man happy, Baltimore Oriole. A Baltimore Oriole, she messed around with that jaybird till he singed her wing. Forgiving is easy, it's a woman like now and then could happen things. Send her back home, home ain't home without her warbling, I know. Make a lonely man happy, Baltimore Oriole. Come on down from your bow, fly on home to him now, Baltimore Oriole, Baltimore Oriole, Baltimore Oriole, Baltimore Oriole.
cigar on a marble stand. Trying to find the ocean, looking everywhere. Hard times in the city, in a hard town by the sea. Ain't nowhere to run to, there ain't nothing here for free. Look on the corner, waiting for a train. Drunk, lying on the sidewalk, sleeping in the rain. The people hide their faces and they hide their eyes.
Good evening. My name is Rabbi Jessie Dressen, and I'll be getting the opportunity to welcome you all more formally in just a few minutes. But right now, it is my honor to introduce Batya, Levine, and Rachel Chang as they play some music for us to get our evening started.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Batya, and this is Rachel, and we are so grateful to be here with you tonight. Can you all hear me? Okay. So we're going to start with a nigun, which is a wordless melody that comes from the Hasidic Jewish tradition. And nigunim are often sung over and over and over and over again until the song is really singing you more than you are singing the song. So this one is really simple, and we're just gonna sing it a bunch of times, and as you catch along, try singing with us. And it's a way that this room, we can land here together in this space, in this evening, in this moment together. That's the whole thing. Yeah. Thank you for singing. We're gonna pass the mic on.
I figured if I didn't come up to the podium, maybe you would play another song for us, but I know we're on a timeline. Baruchim habaim, welcome everyone. My name is Rabbi Jessie Dressen. I use she, her pronouns, and it is my honor as both a JUFJ board member and founder and executive director of Third Space at Shari Tefillah to welcome you to the 2024 Heschel Vision Awards. It is such a joy to have this building filled with all of you. First, a quick poll. How many of you have been to Third Space already? Wonderful. How many of you have been to Shari Tefillah in its first century when it functioned as a synagogue over more than a decade or past ago? There's always a few. And how many of you are here for the very first time? Welcome and welcome back. We are so happy to have you here. Shari Tefillah was started as a congregation in 1921 when this area of Baltimore City was filled with Jews. It was known as the Shul at the Park, and it was lauded as one of the greatest neighborhoods in all of Baltimore City, which I don't think has changed that much. As the Jewish community migrated up Park Heights Avenue and out of the city, the neighborhood changed over to a majority black, mostly, but not entirely, not Jewish neighborhood. This building sits on the border of two neighborhoods, Auchentrolley Terrace and Mondawmin. It is impossible to tell the Jewish story in Baltimore and to talk about the migration patterns here and, truthfully, the hyper-segregated nature of our city without talking about this very intersection in which you are seated. The first century of the legacy of this building is defined by its identity as an Orthodox shul. In January of this year, we launched Third Space at Shari Tefillah. Third Space seeks to stand on the shoulders of that which came before it. But we are not a congregation, and we are definitely unorthodox in how we are going about bringing this building back to life. Here, we desire to be a place of meaningful Jewish learning that celebrates Jewish culture. But Third Space is not for Jews alone. We are deeply committed to being an organization that adds value and allocates resources to also being a place of gathering and meaning-making in this neighborhood in which we sit. As my teacher, Rabbi Ed Feinstein, so clearly states, in the Torah, when there is a prerogative towards the particular, there is a nod towards the universal. So what does that mean? An example. In the Torah, when Jews are commanded to mark a corner of their field, to mark Peah, that is a particular instruction for how a Jewish farmer is supposed to ensure that they are doing their part to ensure that the vulnerable constituents in their community, the orphan, the widow, the person simply passing through, will have access to what they need, and that the approach for how they get access requires the Jewish person to honor the dignity and infinite worth of those individuals and vulnerable groups that make up their community. Jews United for Justice operates in a similar manner. The work to address housing security, public safety, to fight for the rights of those with unpaid water bills is grounded in deep commitments to Jewish principles and approaches for how we care for the vulnerable and how we build coalitions toward campaign wins. But the focus of the work is not solely on Jews. Like the Torah instructs us in virtually every place it is written, Jews are commanded to pursue justice. The focus is not on Jews alone. It is a deeply Jewish practice. And to quote Sarah Hurwitz, I might add, a deeply Christian, a deeply Muslim, and a deeply what any decent person should do practice. To stand together with those most at risk in the communities in which we live in together in the fight for justice. It is Sunday, and so technically I'm pressing rewind on the week's Torah portion to the words we read yesterday. When Jacob traveled from Beersheba to Haran, he stopped to rest for the night. As he slept, Jacob was visited by ministering angels of the Holy One who came to wrestle with him, to challenge his peace of mind, and to bring to the forefront the things that Jacob was likely most concerned with: the future of what his family would look like, whether he would encounter danger along his journey, and how he would reconcile some of the deep-seated turmoil that existed around him at a personal, familial, and societal level. When Jacob awoke from his sleep, he realized that he had wrestled with the divine, and he was forever changed. So much so that Jacob changed his name to Yisrael, the one who wrestles. This Yisrael, yeah. This is a time of great wrestling in our country, in our world, and in our faith identities. There is so much to grapple with, so much to be fearful of, and yet so much so the invitation that we must put hope at the forefront. But hope, in the Jewish understanding of the word, cannot be solely a belief or a feeling. Judaism doesn't work that way. Judaism requires that we marry our actions with our belief. When we believe something, we commit to practices and habits that help us to move incrementally in the direction of the redemption and the hope for the world as we want it to be. We don't just pray to God for these things. We are commanded to be partners in the work. We are commanded to wrestle and to fight and to learn along the way so that we can pursue this world we imagine in purposeful and generative ways and always in deep relationship. It is my honor to serve on a board that puts at the forefront of Jewish understanding of hope, because it means that our hope is rooted in action and relationship. In a few weeks, many of us will kindle the Hanukkah menorah, perhaps one of the greatest symbols of hope of the Jewish people. And while we often talk about the miraculous nature of a depleted amount of oil lasting long enough to create more, my blessing for us and for this evening of celebration is to focus on whoever it was that had that hope, had the audacity really, to even suggest that the light should be lit that very first night. That when it seemed like all odds were against the possibility of rededication, of replenishment, of any certainty for what the steps ahead might look like, they decided to light the menorah. Amongst the ruins of the temple and the tears and the fear of all that was wrong, they led with hope, they led with light, and they recommitted to community that refused to give up. May we stand on the shoulders of those ancestors in our work, in our wrestling, and tonight in our celebration. Tonight, we celebrate a decade of organizing right here in Baltimore. The leadership of this year's honorees, one of whom is a great Jewish farmer, and victories from DC, Montgomery County, and across Maryland in the past year. It is now my great privilege to invite JUFJ's board chair and an extraordinary leader of our work, Desmond Surratt.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay. My wife said before I got up here, baby, just remember you can be very loud, so don't want to be too loud. It's great to be in the space with all of you again. Again, my name is Desmond Surratt. I'm chair of the board of JUFJ. I live in Washington, D.C., although I am from Prince George's County, Maryland. I'm obligated to say that because we're in Baltimore. So I want to start with the story of young Desmond. So when I was a young organizer, I was put on a campaign to save a hospital from shutting down in the DC area. I'd spoken to a lot of staff and leaders at the hospital and convinced them to join me for an action on the hospital board. When the time came for the action, I stood up, I did my speech, and when everyone was supposed to join me, instead of jumping up with me, they remained seated and silent. My action was a failure, and I looked like an idiot. Later that evening, I went to my dad and I told him what happened. I was seething. I was so angry. How could they abandon me like that, I asked. My dad chuckled in a knowing way and simply said, "Not everyone is built the same." Now, at the time, young Des took that to mean not everyone is brave, or not everyone has courage, or not everyone can confront authority. And most of all, I thought it meant, not everyone is built like you, Des. Yes, I was that insufferable as a young organizer. And now I think about those words differently. A lot has happened in the years since that failed action at that hospital. That hospital is still around, thankfully, despite me. My dad is not. He passed away earlier this year. But those words have been floating around in my head a lot lately. Not everyone is built the same. You know, I think what my dad was actually telling me was that you have to meet people where they are. You have to organize people for the moment. You have to understand who you are talking to and be willing to follow them. Not everyone is built the same, so figure out how they're built. The person who brought you into this room, into this movement even, took the time to figure out how you are built. They chatted with you. They studied you. They thought about you when you weren't around. They sent you articles and events they thought you'd like. They talked about you to other people. I know it sounds like having a crush. That's organizing. You're just trying. Organizing is having crushes on other people, but not in a weird way, hopefully. You're just trying to understand how they're built, because not everyone is built the same. And that person who organized you as people before them, who brought them into the movement, and those people were brought in by leaders before them, and those by leaders before them, and so on. So we belong to a prestigious lineage of crushes that goes into the distant past. And if we do our jobs, we will continue on into the future. That's a powerful thing. Just from taking the time to understand how someone is built, you could get them into a room like this, which you all have clearly done tonight. What else can we do together? Well, we only have to look back at that lineage of people who brought us here. For most of my father's life, there were few or no people in power in the government on his side, or running any of the powerful institutions. He was a union leader. And in fact, those institutions, government, corporations, and sometimes churches and temples, were radically aligned against organizers like him. The rich and powerful institutions conspired to stop them, in fact. But that didn't stop my father and other telephone workers in the 70s from leading the longest CWA strike in New York history against AT&T, which was the largest, most powerful corporation in the world at the time. 7 months they were on strike. No paychecks coming in. Imagine what it took to hold those thousands of workers together at that time, many of whom had families to feed and bills to pay. And because they stayed together, they won fair wages and a new collective bargaining agreement. Imagine what they were up against. But that's not even the part I want you to focus on today. When my dad and his comrades got together years later, I was just a kid watching quietly in the corner. It was all laughter, and can you believe it? The tension and fear from that standoff decades before turned into teary-eyed gratitude and genuine love, because they knew they did something remarkable together. I was watching a documentary the other day called Storming Caesar's Palace. I don't know if you have seen it, it's really good. About a group of black women in Nevada who organized for welfare in the 70s. This was the beginning of what would become Republicans' attempt to dissolve welfare. The conservatives at the time created this racist caricature of the welfare recipient, black welfare queen who's taken advantage of the system, lazy thieves. Thousands of families were taken off welfare in Nevada overnight. And these women, led by a woman named Ruby Duncan, organized and marched on the Las Vegas Strip and shut down casinos one by one until the state restored their benefits. They said to the state and the casinos, if we don't eat, you don't eat. So I say this to you. Our values are not cheapened by an election outcome. The work that was there before the election remains after the election. We organize to create a fair and equal society. We do not organize just for elections. Don't get me wrong, elections are a good test for our organizing and progress, and on that front, we've got some work to do. I know many of you are feeling fear or anxiety in the face of what's to come. I'm not here to tell you it's going to be easy. I'm here to tell you we're going to have to find love and joy in the struggle. That it's okay for it to not be okay. In fact, there were many of us who are not okay even before November 5th, 2024. And just like there are many of us who are not okay before November 8th, 2016. I'm here to invite you to rise to the moment. Like y'all need an invitation, I know. The same thing that is true today is as it's always been. It's not okay to let our children or our elders starve. It's not okay for people to freeze to death on the cold streets of Baltimore or Washington, D.C. It's not okay for ICE to raid homes and rip families apart. We can agree on that. We can agree that it's not okay to let that happen. That is a low bar. So low, America has never managed to reach it. Some of you might say to me, well, it's not like it was back then, Des. Hell, it's not even like it was in 2016. Well, then you tell me what has changed. It's the same old playbook. Scapegoat immigrants and blame them for all the nation's ills. Cut taxes to the rich and corporations and pay for it by rolling back entitlements like Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. That's what's coming. Make the government dysfunctional so that people stop believing that there is anyone looking out for them. Turn us against one another and make us compete for the scraps. They will demean the very idea of asking for help. But above all else, please always remember that these strategies and tactics are not an end in themselves. Their purpose is to distract and destroy any movement that seeks to stop the hoarding of an unimaginable amount of resources by a select few. Our job, simply put, is to stop greed. To the greedy, let us channel Ruby Duncan and those who organized before us and say, if we don't eat, you don't eat. It's the same old thing. What's different now is that it's our turn to beat it back. We have the recipes on how to be successful because of the ones who did it before us, like Ruby, like my dad. And I promise you we will not fail. Oh, so the richest man on earth is teaming up with the president of the most powerful country to steal what belongs to the public? Bet. When has that not happened? It's literally the plot of every James Bond movie. So I'm up. You're up. It's our turn. JUFJ, we're up. It's our turn to beat that back. Before I go, I have a few things I want us to keep in mind, though. We stand 10 toes down together. Beware of anyone trying to break up our community. And I don't just mean the JUFJ community. I mean all of us together, including Black, Latino, and immigrant and queer and trans communities. What we do here in our region matters. It matters for people whose lives have been improved when we win laws to protect renters, raise wages, expand access to health care, improve public safety. But those victories also ripple out and are replicated across the country. We need to stay focused on the foundations of organizing. Meet people where they are. Invite them in. Next year, let's set a goal to double the people in this room. And let that be the law of the land for all the organizing meetings. And by the way, that's not a critique of our staff. Can we give them a hand for this beautiful event? What we need to do is help our staff. It's on us to grow this movement. Stand tall. I know the people in this room get this, but deliver this message to your family and friends who are experiencing a moment of doubt. This is not a moment for shrinking. This is not a moment for sulking. Let's not cheapen our values with hunched shoulders. We can't do this without them. Finally, always remember, not everyone is built the same. Thank you. Before I step off, I'd like to recognize and thank the numerous organizational partners who are here today or want to be here, as well as our elected officials. This includes Baltimore Councilmember Felicia Porter, Ethan Hasuk from yes, give it up, Baltimore City Council, President Z. Cohen's office, David Coons from Montgomery Councilmember Will Jawando's office, and Maryland State Delegate Pamela Queen. Let's give them a hand.
Hi, my name is Rachel Cutler, and I am the Baltimore Director of JUFJ. Welcome to Baltimore, hun. We are thrilled to be here to celebrate not only the Heschel Vision Awards, but also JUFJ's 10-year anniversary in our city. In celebrating this momentous occasion, we wanted to do something that was uniquely Baltimore. We enlisted Baltimore Stoop Storytelling Series to support two of our longtime JUFJ leaders, Evan Serpic and Yona Gorelik, to share personal tales about their experiences with JUFJ. The Stoop empowers individuals and builds community through the sharing of personal stories. This intimate format pays homage to the tradition of family and community members sharing stories as they sit atop Baltimore's iconic marble steps. We'll first hear from Yona about some of JUFJ Baltimore's earliest campaigns.
"15 winters ago, on a snowy night in central West Baltimore, I joined a spontaneous assembly of people in a park right outside my window who were gathering to play in the snow. It was really fun. I was pretty new to Baltimore and quite new to the neighborhood, and as I was starting to get to know my new neighbors, someone asked where I lived. I said, right here on Utah Place, and the response I got was, "Oh, you must live on the white side of the street." Unrelated to the weather swirling around us, I froze a little bit inside in that moment. There was so much I didn't know about the place I was beginning to call home. I got involved in what would grow into the No Boundaries Coalition, and I took my first baby steps as a community activist. I began to learn that the way I had been raised to relate to police and policing was not a luxury that had been afforded to all my neighbors of all racial and ethnic backgrounds, all neighborhoods and zip codes. And all the while, I was an admirer from afar of Jews United for Justice down in DC. I was working at Goucher, and I remember bringing a group of college students with me to attend the Heschel Vision Awards in DC. I was so starry-eyed and excited to be there. And when I got word in 2014 that JUFJ was expanding to Baltimore, I couldn't have been happier. I remember 10 Novembers ago, participating in the very first Baltimore JUFJ community meeting. We gathered in a basement room in a building in Remington, buzzy fluorescent lights overhead, lots of chart paper on the walls around us, and I could feel sparks of hope, sparks of possibility and community and connection flying as we began to envision a unique role for ourselves in moving the Jewish community into action in solidarity with our neighbor activists. By March that year, Baltimore JUFJers were in Annapolis testifying against the extremely egregious law enforcement officers' Bill of Rights. And then the next month, Freddie Gray was killed. I remember marching in the streets with many of you in this room. I remember the Jewish Community Summit on Police Accountability that we held at Chizuk Emunah. I remember we figured out lobbying, crafting and delivering testimony, op-eds, getting into lockstep in acts of civil disobedience and amplifying the voices of our partner organizations. I want to shout out here the Campaign for Justice, Safety, and Jobs. And I remember this November, On election day, being out at polling places along with almost 200 other volunteers, getting the word out to Baltimore City voters so that we could pass, in part, Question E, and at long last, restore local control of the Baltimore Police Department to our city. Yes, we did that. I woke up the morning after Election Day with a lot of feelings, including trepidation. But as I opened my phone and scrolled through the WhatsApp messages that were flying between these hundreds of other volunteers, I felt solace. I felt achievement. I felt commitment, and I felt those sparks flying. And I'm so excited to continue the work with all of you.
Thank you, Yona, for that beautiful story. We are truly proud of our work with the Campaign for Justice, Safety, and Jobs to win local control of the Baltimore Police Department this past election. Now, Maryland Core Team member Evan Serpic will share a story about another one of our issue areas, immigrant rights.
So in August 2019, on Tisha B'Av, I was in the morning in the JUFJ office on Maryland Avenue. More fuzzy lights and chart paper, if you can picture that. Sort of a mainstay of JUFJ Baltimore. And we were getting ready to go to Howard County, to the Jessup Correctional Institute, to block the entrance so that they could no longer, ICE could no longer continue to round up our immigrant neighbors and lock them up in our state jail. Tisha B'Av, as you may know, is a day of mourning for the destruction of the temple. It's also a day when we sort of think about the brokenness of the world. And we couldn't think of a more appropriate day to sort of speak out about the contract that our local police departments or our local prisons had with ICE, who were really doing draconian, terrible enforcement under President Trump. So we were, writing our phone numbers on our arms and talking about tactics. I remember my wife and 2 kids were at summer camp and calling her to tell her I might get arrested today. Maybe don't tell the kids. And feeling nervous, but really feeling a tremendous sense of community with my fellow volunteers, feeling very passionate about this issue, really having no question about the need to do this. So we drove down to Howard County, we parked in the McDonald's across the street, and we marched across the entrance and locked arms and sat down and immediately had interactions with the police and was feeling very nervous. There were sirens, and we looked across the grassy knoll, and there were hundreds of supporters. A lot of folks who are here today, I'm sure, were there. A lot of our colleagues and our allies from CASA were there, from Progressive Maryland were there, and they were with us, and they were cheering us on and supporting us. We were singing together, we were chanting together, we were demanding that Howard County end its contract with ICE, that we wouldn't abide by this injustice. And we sat in the hot heat like that for hours, and we felt the energy, and media came out in mass, lots of interviews. We felt really, frankly, energized. The fear that I had, the tension that I had, it really melted away. I really felt like this was the right way to spend this day of mourning with my community and try to speak out about this injustice. So as the hours passed, the police ultimately didn't arrest us. They decided, I think maybe because of the crowd or the media attention, that it would be best just to let us sit here and block the entrance. And then at the end of the day, Rabbi Ariana Katz was one of us blocking the entrance, and she suggested, yep, give it up for Ariana. She suggested that as we leave, we actually walk away backwards to symbolize that while we were going away for today, we weren't turning our backs on this issue, that we would never turn our backs on the people, our neighbors and immigrants who were being locked up. And Nothing changed that day. That's often the way things happen. But then the following year was Sukkot, and the Howard County Council was holding a hearing about whether or not to end the contract with ICE. And we were there again, and I brought my little sukkah that has now been at many protests to talk about security, as we all talk about in Sukkot, and demand that they vote to end the contract. And they did. They voted to end the contract. And several months later, Calvin Ball officially ended the contract, and it was a real achievement. And this became the way I spent a lot of my Jewish holidays, as I'm sure a lot of you do. We had an anti-hate vigil around Hanukkah. We are in Annapolis on Purim every year to lobby legislators. We have the social justice seders on Passover, and it just feels like the presence of JUFJ in Baltimore has given me such a reconnection to my Judaism, a way to live my values in a way that I haven't felt with any other organization. And it's incredibly meaningful to me, and I couldn't be happier to be celebrating 10 years of that with all of you here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Evan. As Evan mentioned, because of our work and the work of many coalition partners, Howard County canceled its contract with ICE in September 2020. And it's the same coalition building and strategic community organizing that led us to other victories over our 10 years, such as a $15 minimum wage, public financing for elections, right to counsel for tenants in Baltimore's rent court, and the Water Accountability and Equity Act, to name a few. Thank you, Yona and Evan, for these stories that demonstrate the power of our community. Now, help me welcome Baltimore Leadership Council co-chairs, Michelle Levy and Sam Blau, to share some special gratitude to someone for whom JUFJ's 10 years in Baltimore wouldn't be possible.
So thank you, Rachel. I'm Sam Blau.
And I'm Michelle Levy, and we're the co-chairs of the Baltimore Leadership Council.
So when JUFJ expanded to Baltimore 10 years ago, they knew that they needed to find someone very special. And founding Baltimore director Molly Amster was that person. I was lucky enough to meet Molly 8 years ago walking into my very first JUFJ event, which was a legislator meeting, where I was immediately impressed with her warm and commanding presence.
Molly, it's hard not to cry doing this. My first memories of Molly are around her Shabbos table, an evening full of connection and community. And in concert, these first impressions reflect the essence of the authentic, strategic, and unbelievably wildly dedicated leadership with which Molly has led JUFJ Baltimore from a nascent idea to a flourishing, close-knit community of activists.
At the heart of JUFJ's involvement with each of our campaigns, from renters' rights to police accountability, has been Molly's relentless pursuit of justice and her commitment to relationships. So now it is our great honor to shower her tonight with collective gratitude and an offer of a gift of appreciation.
This is my level this time. Hi, I'm Jen Cheslock. I'm the co-chair of the Baltimore Community Building and Education team at JUFJ. A special thanks to Molly for your vision and leadership. Now, on behalf of Jews United for Justice, Rachel and I are overjoyed to introduce you to Laura Menyuk, the 2024 Elissa Froman Heschel Vision Awardee. For her leadership in building an educated and connected community of activism in Baltimore.
Laura was, I have to raise it. Laura was one of our very first leaders in Baltimore, and she served as the founding chair of our Baltimore Community Building and Education team and on our Baltimore Leadership Council, both for many years. Her leadership was key to the success of our annual social justice Seders, and she helped to craft programming for many monthly community meetings, as well as a series of workshops on understanding and combating white supremacy.
Without further ado, let's learn more about Laura's gifts and contributions to JUFJ and her community from her friends and family.
My first impressions of Laura were that I had found a kindred spirit in the way that we like to show up in the work that we do. Her commitment to making sure that there is an easy on-ramp for anybody to get involved just makes her a person that it's easy to show up for.
Laura is an educator. She works for Great Kids Farm, which is an educational farm run by Baltimore City Schools out in Catonsville. So Laura is always just giving back in some way or another.
When Laura's in a room and teaching, she has a wisdom that she offers to people and meets them where they're at, which is really inspiring. And she does this both in group settings and in a one-on-one way, agitating people like just the right amount to move them or get them excited or uncomfortable a little bit, but pushing them more in the path of justice.
She understands that people are gonna have multiple entry points and different ways of engaging, and that's okay. Laura has such a beautiful way of asking you just like what you're interested in. It's like, what do you like? What are you interested in? What do you want to do? Like, what gets you pumped up? Like, what makes you feel good? It's like, what a fun way of asking me like the kinds of things I want to make change in the world about. So I just found working with Laura from the get-go just so inviting and just so easy.
Being a part of the community building and education team and the social justice Seder planning committee with her was like a master class in how to build community engagement. She just exudes this aura of joy and fun in everything that she is doing.
Since 2014, JUFJ has grown tremendously in Baltimore. And we're a really connected intergenerational community of Jewish activists and allies who are making significant change in our region. And Laura has been a key player in making that possible. She can be at the front of the room, she's a very skilled facilitator, but she's also incredible at planning and working out the details and keeping everyone together.
I am truly a product of really good organizing because I started out just running this kids program as a one-off kind of thing, and then the leaders of JUFJ at the time identified me as somebody who might like to run programs in general. It was really empowering for me and changed my own idea of the abilities I had in the world to make a difference, and I wanted to continue to help others do the same. Coming back to Baltimore, I was able to combine all of those skills in my leadership work and turn that into the events that we would run for JUFJ, and also turn that into the advice that I could give as a member of the Leadership Council. I'm so excited that JUFJ chose to honor Laura with the Elissa Froman Award. Like Elissa, Laura is committed to the community. She's committed to bringing Judaism into her justice work. And she helps bring other leaders and educate other people to get involved in the social change work that's needed in our region and in our world. Our Jewish tradition teaches us we're meant to have our community support us, and we're meant to support our community. And the big part of why I continue to work with JUFJ and volunteer with JUFJ is that we get to do it as part of our community.
Hello. My name is Abby Shakur, and I'm a DC community organizer at JUFJ.
And I'm Alex Samuels. I'm a member of the DC Economic Justice Working Group. On behalf of Jews United for Justice, we're delighted to honor Michelle Engelmann with a 2024 Heschel Vision Award for her leadership in the campaign for economic justice for early childhood educators, and for supporting emerging JUFJ leaders in DC.
Yes, please. It has been such an honor to organize alongside Michelle in the myriad roles she plays in support of DC's Under 3 DC campaign, which works to ensure that all children in DC have access to quality, affordable early education, and that all early educators are paid fairly. Michelle's deep commitment to doing what it takes to make change, from public advocacy to mentorship and base building, is so inspiring.
Now let's hear from Michelle's loved ones about her commitment to justice and contributions to her community.
Michelle inspires me on just about a daily basis. I'll get an email from her saying she's doing fundraising about reproductive rights, or an email saying, I'm writing postcards to Florida. Are you interested? Or an email saying, we've got to follow up with council about some of these under 3 issues. She builds a community around community service, and I really admire that. Anything she decides to do, she does, 100% or more. She steps up in a zillion ways to get whatever the job is done, and not afraid to lean on other people, to reach out for other resources, to ask for help, and then always willing to give credit to whoever did the work, which is really important too.
She is a Renaissance woman. She plays cello, she plays mahjong. She is a leader in her synagogue. It goes on and on and on. She just approaches everything with such enthusiasm and thoroughness and skill that it's really a pleasure to watch her work.
I kind of see my activism as evolving over time. I started out as an adult, a young mother, actually doing work with Jewish women's groups and doing more fundraising and service project kind of stuff. When I first moved to DC, I joined Tikkun Olam Women's Foundation, where I really learned the difference between doing service, which is wonderful, and making social change to get at the root causes so that you can really make long-lasting change. And that's actually how I got to know JUFJ.
Michelle stepped into a major role in our DC organizing work at a really pivotal time in the Under 3 DC coalition work. We had just won this tax increase that she testified multiple times on to raise taxes on high income earners in the district. with that funding going to raising the wages of early childcare workers. And then we were left with this next big step of implementing this policy and this program. I did not know where to find the people to bring into this work. Parents of young kids are really busy. I felt like we were tapping all the networks, and Michelle was like, I think I know a couple of people. And she had this like organizing knack. And all of a sudden we had a list of folks who were interested in joining an under 3 working group. And we had our first meeting, and there were probably 10 times more people I thought were gonna be there. I think that the DC community and the Jewish community in DC is in a much better place because of the work that Michelle has done to support early childhood educators, parents, and it is just so exciting to be able to have the opportunity to celebrate Michelle.
I love when we have an impact. I guess that's really the biggest thing, is that you want to be able to work together with all of your partners and allies and accomplish something. We always try to ground our work in Jewish principles and values, and I love those connections that we make, that we are carrying out Jewish values when we do this. It makes me proud to be a Jew.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matan Zemmer, and I'm the Maryland Policy Director here at JUFJ.
And I'm Anna Levy, a founding member of the Maryland Core Team and a member of the Montgomery County Leadership Council. We are so thrilled that the Public Justice Center is receiving a 2024 Heschel Vision Award. This is a chance to celebrate not only the accomplishments of PJC itself, but also the long history of collaboration with JUFJ in Montgomery County, Baltimore, and at the state level in Maryland.
In Baltimore, they've been a critical partner in the fight for renters' rights, including right to counsel, rental licensing, and expanding COVID-era protections. Yeah. In Montgomery County, they've been a key partner in the work to decriminalize students, first in reducing police presence in schools, and then pushing for a more robust restorative justice program. And at the state level, they continue to be a key partner in securing critical wins, which include access to legal counsel in eviction proceedings, eviction prevention funds, and legal pathways for holding landlords accountable for unsafe living conditions, and that's just a few to name.
Now let's watch the PJC and JUFJ staff and members talk about our social change work, our partnership, and PJC's leadership in the region through legal services and legislative advocacy.
We live in a country that has just commodified a basic human need, and it has become normalized. And so when something as necessary to human life as shelter is not within the control of so many people, having an organization like Public Justice Center to whom people can reach out when they're in distress or, when their rights are being violated. It's a necessary resource.
Public Justice Center's mission is to make systemic change to build a just society. And we do that in partnership with our clients, with other stakeholders, with partners like JUFJ United for Justice, CASA, Baltimore Renters United, bringing all the tools at our disposal, whether it's filing a lawsuit or working together around legislation that's really going to move the needle, because we all believe in human dignity and human flourishing, and we need to see real change today. Partnership's just essential to everything we do. That's the only way we can actually make systemic change, and we know that.
Our work with the Public Justice Center through the statewide Renters United Maryland Coalition, which works to advance housing justice issues at the state level. And we actually helped to co-found that coalition with the Public Justice Center and several other of our close-in partners back in 2017. And it's really grown into this incredible coalition that has really elevated the power of tenant organizing and our collective efforts towards housing justice in Maryland. And through that coalition and through that work, alongside all of our coalition partners, we've won some incredible wins in Maryland. Things like now there's access to counsel for renters facing eviction, right? That is a huge fundamental power shift in the state of Maryland.
Public Justice Center practices community lawyering, which is a model that puts the community members in the driver's seat. They're the ones telling lawyers what even is it that they need to be doing. It's led by neighbors, it's led by faith leaders, it's led by community leaders.
We're currently involved in a campaign down in Montgomery County to decriminalize schools, and JUFJ United for Justice is a part of that coalition with us and are helping to push for better school discipline practices, like increasing funding for restorative justice. The campaign was headed up by Young People for Progress, and then Public Justice Center and JUFJ United for Justice were members in that, and we successfully pushed the county to remove police from schools, which is one of the first of its kind of policies. It represented such a huge win for the campaign to get police out of schools.
Montgomery County had a memorandum of understanding that was between the county, the Board of Education, and the county council. And so we had Public Justice Center as our partner, and specifically Renuka Rege was a very helpful lawyer for us to have the direct legal input from the Public Justice Center as we were trying to explain to students and parents and community members the Memorandum of Understanding meant and how much police were going to have access to children in the community.
I'm inspired all the time by our clients. And I know that probably sounds a bit trite, but it's just so true. I mean, our clients have been subject to forces of racism and economic oppression and gender inequality, and somehow they get up every morning and they put one foot in front of the other, and we accompany them on those journeys, both in their individual cases as well as in this sort of systemic change making.
I would like to just extend a huge thank you to the Public Justice Center. We're in it for the long haul, and we are thankful to Public Justice Center for being in there with us.
Wow, what incredible humans we get to celebrate together. So this song is called Hishtadlus, which is a Hebrew term for the balancer to bitachon. They're in a relationship. Hishtadlus is the effort and the work, and bitachon is the trust. So we need the trust that the change is possible. And tonight we are here celebrating the effort, the work, the putting in of energy to make that happen. So in honor of all of the many tiny, tiny acts and big moments that have brought each of us here today and each of the honorees to this moment, I'm going to teach you all this song a little bit with a call and response. It's another nigun, so whatever syllables feel good in your mouth are the ones that you get to sing. Okay, repeat after me. Ay, ay, ya da da, ya da da. Ay, ay, ya da da, da da da. Ay, ay, and I, and I. Ay, ay, ya da da, ya da da. Ay, ay, ya da da, da da da. Ay, ay, ya da da, da da. Ay, ay, ya da da, da da. Okay, let's try that whole part. You ready? And ay, ay, da da, da da. Ay, ay, and I, da. Ay, ay, da da, da. Ay, ay, da da, da da. Nice again. And I, da da, da. Ay, ay, and I, da. Ay, ay, da da, da. And I, da da, da da. Second part. Ay, ay, da da, da. Ay, ay, da da, da. Ay, 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 and I, da. Ay, 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 and I, da. Ay, ay, da da. Ay, ay, da da. Ay, ay, da da, da da. Ay, ay, da da, da da. Okay, we'll just try that whole part. 2, 3, and ay, ay, da da, da da. Ay, 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 and ay, ay, and ay, and ay, da 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 da, da dee da, and ay, and ay, da, ay, 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 and ay, da 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 da. Nice. So we're gonna sing it a few times. So if you're like, I don't totally know if I have it, it's great. We're gonna do it over and over, and then we're all gonna get to sing it together many times, okay? So just reminding us this is for celebrating, honoring all of the work. Ay, ay, di, da, 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 am I, am I, am I, ay, am I, di, da, 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 and I, da, 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 ay, ay, di, da, 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 am I, am I, am I, ay, and I, di, da, 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 am I, da, 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 di, da, am I, di, da, 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 am I, am I, am I,
Okay, so this next song is Hodu, which will have some words up on the screen. And Hodu, the word Hodu, means like we give gratitude, but the word actually also means acknowledgement. So it's both like an offering of gratitude, but also a reading of gratitude that is just about acknowledging what is true. And this acknowledgement of what is true is about loving kindness being the foundation of all of existence. And we know that we could not do this work if we do not have some greater vision holding us. And so this is an offering of gratitude and of a remembering of the deeper foundation of love that is supporting this work. And it's a bit of a mouthful, but if you want to join for Ki Le'olam Chasto, Ki Le'olam Chasto, it'll repeat over and over, so if you catch it, please feel free to sing along.
Great. I'm Toby Dietz, and I've been working with JUFJ since 2018. And I just want to say, as a Baltimorean, it is thrilling to have you all here in person in Baltimore. We're come to the part of the program where we're going to be celebrating for a few minutes the highlights of the past year. And when you think about it, a big theme for all of us has been already protecting vibrant local democracy. In DC, in Montgomery County, and everywhere we've worked in Maryland, we've been educating our communities on really critical local elections and local ballot measures. And I just want to say that democracy was certainly front and center here in Baltimore. We fought a ballot measure to cut the size of our city council in half, and that, yeah, boo, because it was sponsored almost entirely by right-wing, funded by right-wing billionaire David Smith, AKA chair of the Sinclair Broadcasting Group. So David and Goliath effort. But thanks to the phenomenal organizing by JUFJ Baltimore and our partners in the Baltimore City Not for Sale Coalition, yay, Baltimoreans voted decisively against Question H and the power of big money. And finally, and I know this has gotten a shout out a couple of times already, but our massive campaign to restore local control, statewide as well as local campaign, local control over the Baltimore Police Department, culminated after over 10 years of work in Baltimore, a ballot question E. And when it passed this November, we finally got local control, finally restored to the people of Baltimore for the first time since the Civil War. So again, thank you to everybody in this room who made that happen.
My name is Rafi Glazer, and I've been involved with JUFJ since 2015. At JUFJ, we know that safe and stable housing is essential for human dignity. I spoke on behalf of JUFJ almost 2 years ago when we were pushing for permanent rent stabilization in Montgomery County, and this summer, the new groundbreaking law was finally implemented. I've been inspired by the new tenant-led coalition called Housing Justice Montgomery, which is taking the lead on continuing the renters' rights work in our county. In March, DC JUFJers held a housing-themed Purim Carnival featuring drag performers, hamantaschen, and advocacy to fund the affordable housing in this year's budget. In July, we helped host the annual Renters United Maryland Housing Justice Summit, where Delegate Vaughn Stewart described the coalition's work as a complete sea change for renters' ability to advocate for their rights in Annapolis.
Hi, I'm Mo Pasternak, and I've been involved with JFJ since January 2023. And economic justice is also core to JFJ's history and mission across our region, from demanding higher wages and better benefits for working families to advocating for a fair and just local budget. And over the summer, JUFJ and our partners won a progressive property tax in DC, raising taxes on multi-million-dollar mansions to fund vital services for district residents. And over Labor Day weekend, 19 congregations throughout the region hosted Labor on the BEMA programs to talk about progressive taxation in Maryland, DC, and the fight to make sure the wealthiest people and corporations pay their fair share so all of us can thrive.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andy Miller, and I've been involved with JFJ since 2016. And my turn is to talk to you about what's coming up. So our work will continue after tonight, and so will our need to come together in community. I hope you join a working group on any of the issues you just heard about, plus our work on transforming public safety, DC home rule, and youth justice. And in the coming month, we will have Hanukkah gatherings across the region, starting right here in Baltimore, where I hope you can join Baltimore JUFJers for our warm-up to Hanukkah Fry Everything party on Monday, December 16th. Check out the JUFJ website for meeting and event details and to RSVP. This link is being shared now on Zoom, I assume that's the case, and will be included in your follow-up email. Thank you to everyone who's been part of these victories, gatherings, and movements. Let's have one more round of applause. Okay, I think we can go off this stage.
Good evening. Good evening. There we go. My name is Jacob Feinspan, and for the last 16 years, I've had the incredible privilege of being the director of Jews United for Justice. One of our core values as an organization is that we're rooted in Judaism, place, and hope. And you've heard those values embodied again and again throughout tonight's program. And I want to return to hope because honestly, there have been moments in the past weeks, months, and even years where holding on to hope hasn't been that easy. Rabbi Jesse Dressen opened the evening reminding us that in Jewish thought, hope is not solely a belief or a feeling, it's an action, and it's rooted in relationship. And I've been thinking a lot about civil rights legend Bryan Stevenson's teaching that hope is the enemy of injustice, because hope is the thing that gets you to stand up when others say sit down. It's the thing that gets you to speak when others say be quiet. And as I look around this room, I see a room full of people who won't sit down, who won't be quiet. And I can't help but feel my heart fill with love and with hope. Because every time we act together, it brings more hope into the world, because this kind of hope is contagious. We bring hope into the world when we work together and with our partners to advocate for change in the region. We bring hope into the world when we come together to recognize and to thank incredible leaders and partners like we have tonight. And we bring hope into the world when we celebrate what we can and have done together. You've heard some of this already this evening, but over the last year, we've defeated a billionaire's attempt to cut the Baltimore City Council nearly in half. We've protected the wages of thousands of early childhood educators in DC. We've helped hundreds of thousands of undocumented Marylanders access health care. We launched a rent stabilization program that will keep hundreds of thousands of Montgomery County residents in their homes. And so much more. But you and I know there is still work to be done. Over the coming year, in addition to the work that we already had planned, we also know that we now have to defend DC's home rule and autonomy, and stand together with our neighbors and the communities that will come under attack. We know what we're up against. We need to step up to that challenge, and we need your help. JUFJ's most consistent and important source of support is donors like you. I know that many of you are already personal supporters of JUFJ, and tonight you've seen, heard, and felt what that support makes possible in our region. So I'm asking each of you now to consider making an additional gift to JUFJ right now to help power this work over the coming year. You can do that, and now is the time you can pull out your phones. On the back of your program or on the back of your name tag is a QR code that has a link to our donation page. You can also go to jufj.org/donate. Or if you have a checkbook with you, we have staff that will be moving up and down the aisles with baskets. We will also accept cash. But gifts from you make this work possible, and I invite you to consider making a gift right now. I want to thank Leora and Luis each for your gifts of $37, Joelle for your gift of $36, Aunt Nellie for your gift of $180, Claudia for your gift of $74, the AFL-CIO for your gift of $150, Larry for your gift of $236. Rachel for your gift of $180. Mike, thank you for your gift of $37. And Tiffany. Zachary, thank you for your gift of $120. Catherine, thank you for your gift of $180. Jesse, for your gift of $108. Jody, for your gift of $35. Joanna, for your gift of $180. Also to Jordan, for your gift of $180. To Karen, for your gift of $36. And to Travis. And as you're making your gift, if you're considering the size, I want you to know about a special opportunity that we have tonight. A group of our donors have pledged to donate an additional $1,000 for each new $1,000 gift that we receive tonight and over the coming month. So, if you'd like to double your gift to JUFJ, this is your invitation. It doesn't have to be all at once. You can make that gift by giving $84 a month. Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. We'll take pledges as also. And Rabbi Jesse, thank you for your gift of $1,800. Marty, thank you for your gift of $108, and Casey for $75, Benjamin for $55, Lee for $18, Ed for $111.71, which I believe is rounded up from $108 to pay for the taxes and credit card fees. So to the best of my knowledge, as of 2 minutes ago, we've had 30 donors make an additional gift of $2,500 while we've been here this evening, in addition to those two larger gifts that I was just noting. So thank you. If you are still in the process of making your gift, please complete that process. There's a new update. 3,600 from 41 donors. Thank you, Jill. And there's also, wow, the collection baskets are working. We have cash too. I want to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who's just given. Thank you to everyone who gave before this evening. And I want to particularly also thank some of tonight's sponsors, Rebecca Annan and Ari Weisbard, Michelle and Glenn Engelmann, Roberta Ritvo, Betsy Krieger and David Kandel, and JUFJ's Maryland core team, DC Leadership Council, and Montgomery County Leadership Council for collectively gathering resources to support this work. Each of those sponsors gave $5,000 or more, and we're incredibly grateful for your support. Thank you. So, in a moment, our incredible musicians, Batya and Rachel, are going to close us in song. After we finish, please head downstairs to the reception. Friendly intel is that there's a second bar or beverage station in the back, so just keep moving through. The buses will be leaving in about an hour where you were dropped off. The bus, sorry. We would love your feedback about tonight and how you'd like to get involved. On the back of your name tag, there are two QR codes. One is a feedback form, please help us and fill it out. The link will also be shared in Zoom and in the follow-up email. And I want to also particularly thank everyone who joined us on Zoom. Last I saw, there were more than 40 people who had joined us in that room in addition to the full house we have tonight. And we'll keep that room open a little longer so that you can celebrate and share together. So now I want to just thank a couple of other folks before we close. First, to everybody here who made the last 10 years of Baltimore work at JFJ happen. Thank you so much for your incredible work and leadership. To our honorees, Laura, Michelle, and the Public Justice Center, we're incredibly grateful for your incredible work. I want to thank my colleagues, the whole staff at JUFJ, and particularly the team of staff that has worked for weeks, months, and in some cases years to make the Heschel Vision Awards possible. Thank you so much. There are dozens of leaders and volunteers in DC and Maryland who made tonight possible, helping to brainstorm our program, inviting people to be here, setting up, cleaning up, and being part of the program. Thank you. Particularly to Rabbi Dressen, to Desmond, Evan, Yona, Batya, and Rachel for being here and playing such a central part on the stage. I also want to thank the Third Space team, our interpreters, and the caterers. The many, many partners who joined us here tonight and the elected officials who also joined us tonight, we're grateful for your partnership. This kind of work is a team sport. None of us do it alone, and we're incredibly grateful to be able to be in this blessed work together. And I want to thank all of you, all the JFJers, past, present, and future, for being a community of hope and of action. So Desmond ended his remarks reminding us to stand tall and to stand together. So it's only fitting that we close tonight's program with Batya and Rachel leading us in the song, We Rise.
Okay, so to close out, I'm going to invite you all to rise in body or in spirit to physically and spiritually manifest the message of this song and of the energy that we are building together. This is a song about believing in and remembering our collective power, especially in times of hopelessness or fear or trepidation. So I'm just going to teach you one little word in case you want to sing it with. Okay, so it goes like this. rise. Try that. Wow, you all sound so beautiful. Okay, so that repeats a lot, as you can see, and you can sing it every single time. All right, here we go. We rise, humbly hearted, rise, won't be divided, rise, with spirit to guide us, rise, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, and we rise, all of the children rise, elders with wisdom rise, ancestors surround us, rise, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, and we rise, up from the wreckage, rise, with tears and with courage, rise, fighting for life, we rise, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here, in hope, in prayer, we're right here, and we rise, humbly hearted, rise, won't be divided, rise, with spirit to guide us, rise. Thank you. Thank you.